Well, if you really want to get into the spirit of Halloween, you can torture yourself for an hour and 18 minutes by watching this movie.
K-Dog's Movie Review.
House on Eden is directed by Chris Collins and stars Chris Collins, Selena Myers, and Jason Christopher Meyer. Setting out to film their next paranormal investigation, Chris, Selena, and Jay encounter a malevolent, ancient spirit that resides in an abandoned house deep in the woods. Okay, another social media influencer movie. Now, to set the stage, I don't really know anything about these people. I didn't even really know their names until I just read them on IMDb. I've seen a few of their shorts on, Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and they're pretty funny. They're funny people, but I don't necessarily follow them or subscribe to them in any way. So I had no idea that they were behind this movie until I watched it. And similar to my Stuckman review, I'm going to say this. I'm going to treat this movie with the same level of criticism that I would any other film that's in theaters. Because this movie was released in theaters for a limited time. People paid full price tickets to get into it, so I'm going to treat it with that same level of respect. Having said that, cue the Jeff Goldblum clip.
That is one big pile of shit.
Okay, before I get into my negatives, there are two things that I liked in this movie. First, I liked the final shot. It involves a group of people and some fire. I think it looked cool. Unfortunately, I think they also agreed that it was their best shot in the movie because they lingered on it for way too long, to the point where I went from really enjoying it to finding it boring. Second thing I liked, there isn't much gore in this film, but there is a moment with some practical effects, and that I enjoyed. That piqued my interest and sort of rose me out of the coma that was this movie. Okay, now for the rest of the film. The best way to describe this movie, let me paint a picture for you. You're in, let's say, 8th grade. You're 13, 14 years old. You've been having sleepovers with your friends, and at those sleepovers, you start watching horror movies. And one Saturday or Sunday after a sleepover, you and all your friends, you take your parents' little DV camcorder and you say, hey, you know what? We got a full day. Let's make a movie. And this half-baked teenage movie was my experience watching this. I don't think this is a good movie by any means. It has a couple cool elements, which I've already talked about. But besides that, it's kind of painful to watch. Luckily, it's short. It's only, an hour and 18 minutes? Okay, so where to begin with this movie? It's like a film that you would make when you were 13 or 14, because first, it is a found footage movie, meaning it's just a bunch of people with their cameras and seen from the perspective of the cameras that they're holding. As I described in the intro, they are paranormal investigators. And my God, the shaky cam. If you get nauseous easily, don't watch this movie. I'm glad I saw it at home and not in theaters because it's constant shaking. Even when characters are standing still and just focusing the camera on someone, the camera is somehow still shaking, like uncontrollably bad. It's like the person who was filming at the time just filmed it like this. Now, they sort of explain it with one character who's really not used to using cameras within the movie, so you can sort of explain how that might look a little shaky. But there's a guy who's set up in the movie to be the cameraman, to be the tech guy, and yet he's the one who's probably shaking the most in this movie. I never yell at movies, but there was a point where I was yelling at my TV like it was a sports game, saying, please stop shaking. In addition to that, I will say this. I don't think found footage is an excuse for bad cinematography. You can still have found footage films with well-executed shots and scenery. It's presented a little differently because the camera's a little shaky, being from the POV of the characters. Interesting, well-lit shots. And here, you don't get any of that. It's just a lot of shaky cam and ugly scenery. Besides the last shot of the film, there was no point where I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah, that's interesting. This is a real movie now. No, it's literally like I'm watching myself as a 14-year-old make a horror movie with my friends, which can be super fun and charming. And I'm sure there are people who will find this film charming, but I don't know these social media influencers. They're not my friends. I don't follow them. And so I just found it kind of annoying. You can also tell that they were just trying to pad the runtime with needless scenes. A lot of the intro of this movie is getting to know our characters, but it's just them riffing and improvising. And unfortunately, I didn't find it funny at all. It wasn't a good setup to our characters because it was just annoying with the shaky cam and the bad jokes. They also pad the runtime with needlessly long shots. I mean, you could say, especially in horror, that sometimes just lingering on a shot and seeing if anything's in the background can be really fun and engaging. But no, here you can tell, like, we have no other shot, so let's just keep looking at this living room for extended periods of time, to the point where it gets exhausting and dull. I again was yelling at my TV saying, please, let's cut to something different. Additionally, scenes that just seem inserted and overdrawn for no reason. There is somewhat of a quote unquote confrontation towards the beginning of the movie. And I just sat there saying to myself, why? Why is this such a thing? You know, I'm trying not to spoil anything right now, but it seems so pointless and unnecessary. It seemed like an exaggeration for what had happened. And thinking about it after the fact, it's really just so they could pad the runtime and make this more of a feature-length film. Another reason this is so similar to making a movie when you're a teenager with your friends is you can tell that these creators have seen a lot of horror movies. And they just decided, like I did when I was a teenager making movies, let's throw every single horror trope we can into this movie. And so this movie is filled with the classics. I won't get into them now, but it's just every little horror found footage thing that you can think of. Nothing feels authentic or original here. It's just an amalgamation of things that you've seen before. And like teenagers making a found footage movie with their friends, they don't really have a good set to work with. They have the woods with clear trails. I mean, in this movie, they're like, oh, this house is in the middle of nowhere. There's no way to get there. It's so difficult. It's really deep in the woods. But you could tell that they're on a trail to get to it. And additionally, once they finally get to the house, it's supposed to be this abandoned place that hasn't been touched in years, but everything is clean as shit. There's not a speck of dust in this house. Everything is so nice and pampered. It looked like a nice, fresh hotel. My parents' house are too modern with technology, and we need an old, scary looking place. So let's go to grandma's house, because grandma has a lot of weird paintings and old creepy dolls and that kind of thing. And like a teenage film, the acting just isn't there. I found the actors to be, frankly, pretty annoying. And when the horror stuff ramps up, it's like kids acting for the first time. And again, I hate to be ripping on these people. Clearly, they have some talent. I've seen some of their shorts. They're funny people. But to charge people full price tickets to see this in theaters, no. After seeing this, you can clearly tell that Shudder just looked at these people and said, they have a lot of followers. That's free advertising. They have a lot of followers. That's free money. Easy ticket sales. Let's throw it on the big screen. So no, it should be critiqued like any other film. And ultimately, the worst part about this movie, the worst thing that any movie can be in my mind, no matter how good or how bad, it was boring. I found myself wanting to look at my phone, wanting to get up, go get a glass of water, and just let the movie keep running in the background because it was that boring. So ultimately, I can't recommend this in any way. Unless you happen to know the people, or maybe you're the parents of these people. Yay, your little kid, they put on a little movie. Yay, oh, that was cute. It's not a so bad it's good. It is not a so good it's good. It's just boring. Guys, please let me know what you thought of this movie in the comments below. Did you even know of its existence? Till next time.